So now I want to tell you a little story about increasing and decreasing relationships. Okay, so let's talk about relationships. At the beginning of these videos, I said that we weren't going to talk about high school relationships, but I guess we will. Okay, so let's have a story time. Story time. Okay, so it's story time. And let's talk about some people here. So we've got Jimmy and Brittany. I can't spell. Brittany. I wanted Brittany's name to be EY, but that's okay. Jimmy and Brittany. So Jimmy and Brittany went to school at another high school, and they were in Mr. Dingledine's Foundation of Science Literacy class. And as we all remember, we had thousands of projects. And so Jimmy and Brittany had to do these projects together. So Jimmy and Brittany decided that they needed to do them at their parents' house. So Jimmy decided that, hey, we need to go over to Brittany's house. Brittany's house. Well, actually, it's their parents. Parents. Right, because none of y'all own houses. So they're going over to Brittany's house, and Brittany's parents are loaded. And so they've given Brittany a huge bank account. But Brittany keeps her checks in her purse. And this is kind of a bad thing for Brittany. And also, Brittany doesn't ever check her bank account. But Jimmy knows her parents are loaded. And so when they're over at, when he's over at Brittany's house working on our Foundations of Science Literacy, he looks through her purse really quickly, and he finds her checkbook. And he doesn't do anything at first because he wants to think about it. So whenever they have the next project, they go over to Brittany's house. And Jimmy decides to start cashing in. So he writes himself for a check of $100, cashes it in the bank. I don't know high schoolers who have bank accounts, but these two high schoolers did. And Jimmy starts doing this habitually. He does it a third time. And so he gets another $100. So now he's up to $200. And he's going up to the next project, the fourth project. He's got $300. He's cashing in big money. But Brittany's bank account is going down each time. And so she is losing money each time. Okay? So if we looked at their bank accounts, for each time they had a project, on the first time that they had a project, Jimmy's bank, how much money was in there? Jimmy was pretty broke because he's a high school student, and high school students don't have any money. And let's look at Brittany's bank account. And Brittany's bank account, her parents were loaded, so they gave her $500, all right? So on the first visit, everything's fine, everything's normal. On the second visit, Jimmy decides to take $100. So now he's got $100 in his bank account. What happens when you take things from people? They lose them. So now Brittany's got $400 in her bank account. On the third project, Jimmy gives himself $100 more, writes himself a check, and now he's got $200 in his bank account. And poor Brittany on the third project, now she's down to $300. And we could figure that Jimmy would do this every single time that that they had a project. So on the fourth project, and then on the fifth project, now Jimmy doesn't know how much is in Brittany's bank, but he just keeps taking. And fortunately for Jimmy and Brittany, they only had 5 projects. So now let's talk about the relationship between these numbers. Now we know that their relationship is about to go bad. But that's not what kind of relationship we're talking about. We're talking about the relationship between the project number and bank account amount. Right? Okay. So if we talked about this like an ACT question, we would talk about increasing and decreasing. Okay? So as the project number increases for Jimmy and for Brittany, what's happening to their bank accounts? So if we have 2 arrows in the same direction, we're going to have an increasing at the same time it's increasing. Okay? Okay, so then right? So let's look at this. So they're both increasing at the same time, okay? So Jimmy's bank account is the only one that's getting bigger, all right? So if we have a decreasing relationship, we've got 1 arrow in the increasing, and then 1 arrow decreasing, right? So this one is in the increasing direction, and this one is telling us that this is a different direction, and so it's decreasing this way, okay? We all know that her bank account's getting smaller as there's more projects. So this is the way that we know that there's an increase at the same time we're getting more projects. There's a decrease because there's less money in the bank, right? Okay? Oh, I forgot to tell you the end of the story. So when Jimmy got caught, he got, I think, expelled from school. But this is a made-up story, so don't tell anybody who's Jimmy or Brittany that I'm talking about them. Okay.